MAGA is dead. It is deader than dead, and Americans are furious. I've been a loyal supporter of the president for almost 20 years. I consider him a dear friend, and I will tell you right now, I do not recognize our president.
This is the...
Welcome to Veteran Uncensored. My name is Chris, and we're going to be reacting to this video, particularly on Piers Morgan Uncensored, particularly about Carrie Prejean Boller, and she discussed in length. Well, I'm not really in length. It's about a 5-minute interview or something like that. It's a short interview, but regardless, she talks about, and also she did it on Tucker Carlson before, about her and her story being recruited into this religious liberty thing commission in the White House, and when she stood up for her freedom to be religious, she was called out and she was basically fired from this. It's a very telling. Let me know if you believe it or not. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right down to it.
What is your view about this? Because I've known Donald Trump a long time, and I'm struggling to not see this attack on Iran as potentially the biggest miscalculation of either of his presidencies, simply because it is going on already much longer than he indicated it would, and there's no apparent easy off-ramp for him now. And it's causing a lot of damage economically, politically. Militarily, America is superior, but even there, they're sustaining losses. And there are many people, even in the most fervent MAGA part of his support, who say, look, this guy campaigned on no more involvement in foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East. What is he doing? Staking everything on the biggest war imaginable in the Middle East.
Thank you so much for having me, Piers. I've been a loyal supporter of the president for almost 20 years. This goes back to when I was 21 years old and I was Miss California at the Miss USA pageant. And I've known him, I consider him a dear friend. And I will tell you right now, I do not recognize our president. I think that we are an occupied nation. I think that a foreign country has occupied our government. And we are seeing now that this president of the United States of America is being influenced by a foreign government. And MAGA, let me tell you right now, MAGA is dead. It is deader than dead, and Americans are furious. We do not recognize President Donald J. Trump anymore.
Wow.
So obviously the foreign government you're talking about is...
I mean, that's quite a statement, to be honest. MAGA is dead. Deader than the dead duck and at the Dead Sea, pretty much is what you wanted to say. Let me know, do you agree or do you not agree on this particular comment?
Israel. And Marco Rubio himself said, before he then did a complete reverse ferret on it, as we would call it over here in England, he said that the reason America preemptively attacked Iran was because Israel, he didn't name it, but it was obvious who he was talking about, had indicated they were going to launch an attack and that the Iranians may respond against American interests, which seemed a very convoluted reason for American forces to be committed. And they then, under huge blowback, tried to pretend he hadn't said it. But we all heard what came out of his mouth. And then we heard Antony Blinken, one of his predecessors, say that Netanyahu had tried to persuade both Obama and Biden to do the same thing by saying, I'm about to attack Iran. And when they said no, he then didn't attack Iran. And so, many people share your misgivings about this. Notwithstanding that, the polling still shows pretty strong support amongst the MAGA base for Trump and this attack. So how do you explain that?
No, I do not believe that one bit. I talk to MAGA people all day long, every day, and the everyday average American is absolutely against this war, and they know that the only reason why we are even in Iran right now is because of Israel. We see Benjamin Netanyahu coming to our country more than any other foreign government, any other foreign nation. He's been here almost 8 times. This is embarrassing. We are the United States of America. Why are we allowing a foreign country to occupy our government? And now we see I was removed from a religious liberty commission because I dared to speak out against Israel. It's no longer a conspiracy, Piers. What Israel wants, Israel gets. And we're witnessing that. And I'm telling you right now, MAGA is dead. And we will not vote for one more politician who lies to us and says, oh, we're going to drain the swamp and we're going to not get involved in foreign wars. Trump has betrayed our country and he has betrayed MAGA. And people are livid.
Wow. Well, those are some unbelievable statements. And whether she's right or not, I guess people will decide. People will decide what they, especially in the midterms. Nothing can take Trump out of power. So that's kind of irrelevant. The main thing here is about the next elections and what's going to happen there. That's going to be another can of worms when that comes about. But the fact of the matter is, one thing that she's truthful about is people voted for no more wars, no more billions and billions of dollars going to Ukraine. We didn't want to repeat that. Now it seems like we're doing the same thing with Israel. We already give them billions every year when it comes to military equipment and everything else. So that seems odd. And about Netanyahu coming to America multiple times a year, well, I don't know. Maybe call me naive. I don't necessarily think that's, something extraordinary. But is MAGA dead is the big question right now. Are voters, do they feel betrayed by Trump? That's the question to answer right now.
I mean, what is fascinating is to see how split the conservative right is now in America in a way I never imagined possible. I remember you on the Miss California thing. It was a story at the time, and I remember all that going. And I was actually at the time I was a judge on America's Got Talent. I'd just been competing on Donald Trump's inaugural Celebrity Apprentice show. I won it. That's when I got to know him. So I remember all that period. And what is fascinating is if you go back to 2008-9, the idea that people like Megyn Kelly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, you and others would be so against what Trump, a Republican president, is doing, would have been unthinkable. How do you think it's come to this?
Well, we witnessed what happened from the very beginning. We saw that Marjorie Taylor Greene was called a traitor by the president. We're seeing never Trumpers, Piers, never Trumpers like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Mark Levin. I mean, these are never Trumpers who were not by his side back in 2016. And now he's siding with these people and calling true MAGA supporters traitors. He's, but what you realize is that the most free people are Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, all fired from the mainstream media, all fired from either the president or mainstream media. And now we're seeing that they're the most free. They're not owned by big corporations, big politicians, big donors. And so we're free and we're speaking out. And it's important that everybody wakes up and realizes that this country is not a free country any longer. It's very, very sad.
Pause there for a second. She makes a great point here, and it is true. First of all, I understand the MAGA movement was unbelievable. It's very ferocious, very strong, very vocal. But with all due respect, they didn't get Donald Trump elected. There's only one type of group that gets a president elected in this country, unfortunately, and those are independent voters. Those are people that don't know who to vote for. Those are people that never voted before that vote now because they were moved by what Trump was talking about, which is no wars, no new wars, no spending money on foreign allies like we do now with Israel and we did with Ukraine under the Democrats. And it's critical thinkers, independent thinkers, that got him elected. And I wish people had more freedom to do that. I wish people would do that verbatim. I wish people would just think and not be so aligned with a political party regardless of what they do. If more people thought, had some critical thinking, and just voted for the right candidate, regardless of their party, then we would be in a much better place. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
What's fascinating is watching people like Ben Shapiro, even coming after people like me. I've always got on pretty well with him. He's come on my show a lot. I've been on his a lot. And it only began, his attacks on me, as a consequence of me becoming more critical of the Israeli government, not of Israel as a country, not of Israeli people, not of Jewish people, but actually direct criticism specifically laid out against some of the actions of the Israeli government, which I believe is being overrun by extremely hardline far-right characters like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who have a very unhealthy influence over Netanyahu because he owes the fact that he's back in charge to them. And I think this has been a very, very unfortunate chain of events, which has now led to where we are. But this idea, and you've talked about this quite a lot, including with Tucker, I think, the other day, which is that any criticism of the Israeli government is now framed by people like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and others as anti-Semitism, that therefore it means you must hate Jewish people. And I find that just A, ridiculous, and B, actually really offensive, and C, it totally devalues the word anti-Semitism and what it actually means and those who perpetrate it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Piers. And you're witnessing it firsthand. You're being called now an anti-Semite. And you know what? I think that it's getting a little old. You know, I witnessed this back in 2009 when I stood up for traditional marriage. I was called a homophobe. I was called a bigot, a hateful person, simply because I'm just upholding my Christian values. And so I think the name calling isn't going to work. But you're exactly right. This is what they do. And I call them Zionist thugs because this is exactly who they are and what they are. These are thugs that try to put you in this box and they lock you in and they shut you up and they cancel you from society and they shun you. They humiliate you. They backstab you, and then they expect everybody else to do the same. And that's what Zionist thugs do. And this has nothing to do with Jew hatred. I am speaking out because I witnessed a genocide in Gaza. I could not deny my eyes. I am a Christian. I am a mother. And I was witnessing a starvation and a genocide, a real Holocaust before our very eyes. And they wanted me to deny that. And I refused to. And they want to call me an anti-Semite simply because I'm a Christian. And that's where this is going, Piers. Pretty soon, Christianity will be anti-Semitic. And that is dangerous. And I reject that.
Is it? I mean, just to play devil's advocate with you here,
100%,
we're both
100%.
Catholics. And I think I'm right in saying that you do not support the concept of Zionism. You don't agree with it. You think it's wrong. And you do that based on your Catholicism. Now, I'm a Catholic. And I don't share that view because it really depends what interpretation you want to put on the word Zionism and being a Zionist and what it means. If you talk to a lot of Jewish people, a lot of Israelis, they'll say it means you believe in the concept of an Israeli state. And the disagreement comes when you get perhaps more radical Zionists whose interpretation of what the state of Israel should be geographically is massively bigger than perhaps more moderate Zionists. So what is your intrinsic problem based on your own religion with the idea of Zionism?
Yeah, I think it's a political ideology that exploits theology. I mean, we have to talk about the theological aspect of Zionism. So as a Catholic, this is what I said on stage. I do not believe 1948 Israel is a biblical prophecy fulfillment. Most Christian Zionists in this country, like Ted Cruz and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and all these other Zionist thugs, supremacists, they want me as a Catholic to reject the Catholic Church's teaching of 2,000 years and reject the fact that we do not believe that that is a biblical prophecy fulfillment. 1948 Israel, atheist Israel that was established in 48. They want us to believe that and reject and deny our Catholic faith. And I refuse to do that. And so I think it's a political ideology that exploits a theology. And you know what? I'm not being attacked by Jews. I'm not being attacked by Muslims. I'm being attacked by Christian Zionists because they're mad that I'm daring to expose the fact that, wait a second, if 1948 Israel isn't biblical Israel, then we don't have to bless it in order to be blessed. We don't have to support it in order to be, blessed according to Ted Cruz. Those who bless Israel will be blessed. Well, what Israel are you talking about? Because for 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has taught that we are the new Israel, that we have fulfilled, that we are the new fulfillment. And so we believe that we are the spiritual Semites. And so if you believe that, I don't know what Ted Cruz thinks about that. Obviously, he's upset because I don't believe that 1948 Israel is a biblical prophecy fulfillment. And so once you do that, their heretical teaching gets exposed for exactly what it is. It's heresy. And we have to start calling it that.
Wow.
Well, Carrie Prejean Boller, I appreciate you coming on Uncensored. We've got a panel which I'm sure, at least some of them I know, will react, I'm sure, quite forcefully to what you just said. But I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Wow,
Thank you.
that was a lot there. A lot of what you said, and to be honest, I can't really disagree. And I'm not an anti-Semite, but I can't disagree. First of all, we shouldn't be worshiping anybody on this land, on this world. We shouldn't be. Oh, listen, I mean, you can have your differences with the Catholic Church. I don't think they do not worship the Pope. They believe he's the Holy Father on earth, the representative of Jesus Christ. If I'm not, I mean, I grew up a Catholic, but I wasn't, practicing Catholic. I think Catholicism is great, just like any other Christianism. If you believe in Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, then to me, you're on the right path. That's me as a Christian. But I respect everybody else's right to, follow their religion as they please, as long as within the law down here, and they're not killing anybody for it, and they're not, carrying out justice in based on their religion, and so I'm all for that. We shouldn't. I mean, the Ted Cruz interview, which I didn't watch before, now I'm starting to watch it. It was just baffling. It's baffling how bad Ted Cruz is, to be honest. It's insane how he just has zero common sense. But I mean, you can't believe a guy like that tells you, if you do right by Israel, then you are blessed. Are you kidding me? So you give Netanyahu what he wants, therefore God is gonna love you and bless you, and you're gonna make it to heaven, more or less. Listen, Israel got their land. The Jewish state got their land. They're there. I mean, that was in the 40s, but that's that. Nothing to do with the Bible. Nothing to do with Christianism or Christianity, better said. So yeah, we can't be blindsided by that. We have to use critical thinking. And because that in itself, if you believe that, then that is really, it's just like if you, the Islamic regime uses their religion to govern a country, to govern and rule their region in a bad way. It's the same. They're doing the same thing with the Jews are doing the same thing. And I'm sorry, not the Jews, because Jews is a broad term and you shouldn't generalize, but I'm talking about the state of Israel specifically. And it shouldn't be like that. Politics and religion should not mix to the extent of that you're ruling based on your religion. Of course, America is a Christian country. And I don't have an issue with the president praying in the Oval Office. I don't have an issue with that. But if the president started ruling based on, the Bible says you shouldn't commit abortion, therefore abortions are banned, and things start to get murky, especially when you really get like the Islamic regime that we're never gonna justify. They killed, they murdered 30,000+ people who don't want the regime to be there. Then you can't have a theocracy. That's not good at all for anybody. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I want to know your opinions. I want to know what you have to say. But yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part with what she had to say, and I don't buy this nonsense as well that because she just became a Catholic, I don't know when she became a Catholic, but therefore she's wrong and they're making fun of her. It doesn't matter. Whenever anybody decides to walk through Jesus Christ, to come in and follow the Lord, whenever they do it, it's irrelevant. So a lot of Christians need to preach what they say, and yeah, that's just the way it goes. But anyway, let me know in the comment section below, and we'll see you on the next one.